Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have another game for you guys today, and I just want to say I've been a little bit irregular lately. I was having a time of it at work and sort of getting back a little bit tired. We're going to be hopefully having a couple more consistent games the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. We'll get back into it. This game though, I chose because I was playing against Inspect Deck, who is normally far above Captain, but you know, we all have those couple days on ranked where it just doesn't go our way, and I've certainly had those games before. This one, I'm taking Baltic Moto, and this deck has since changed a little bit, but that's part of why I picked this one. Is I did a couple of things well, I think, a couple of things poorly, and you know, that always gives me the most to talk about for, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I would do differently, what I would do the same. So, you know, lots to discuss there. I was going for a heavy Feder opener, and this opener should look kind of familiar. It's basically the same thing I do when I play Landshut, and since then, I guess the comment I would make is playing Baltic Moto should probably have contested Boris. Something like Karten Yekri or a single Iroquois and some Yekri 90 in KT would have been very good for that. Just a light thing there, can fight off helicopters, can have some decent anti-armor punch, although not amazing. And we do manage to fend off the right-hand side just a little bit, two of the Kokons being fired in. And that is when I see some smoke, and I started thinking to myself, okay, alright, so we know it's Scandi, and he might be going right down the pipe. And the only thing I have here is a single unit of Ranico, single unit of Karten, and the Karten are not really in position to do much. It's sort of an odd placement there. Again, close range, shock infantry, not in the best position. I would change some things from how I did this game, but triple IKV 105, and I gotta say, I know people like this vehicle. I like playing against it. And I like playing against it in part because for 35 points, it's very fragile. Not a lot of armor on it. We take two of them out, 70 points right there. That's a very nice return on a single spike team, right? So 20 points of mine, 70 points of his, and I've still got this unit. We're still hitting some things, the M13Gs. Granted, they're only 5-point boxes, but don't underestimate them. They are crucial parts of that Scandi opener. Another difference I would mention is I went for an opener with two CVs, my opponent did not. So right off the bat, you have to be thinking to yourself, okay, you're playing at a little bit of a points disadvantage on the board until you get those kills. And right now, I have a ton of stuff over here. It's not really doing much. I have Ranico, I have Yekri, I have Iroquois, I have KTs, XA180s, and I run a couple of things forward and stupidly get shot by the same recon vehicle a couple times in a row. But all this stuff here, yeah, it took Feder, but now what is it doing for me? And the answer is probably not very much. So I probably should have gotten the Ranico moving forward, probably should have gotten the Yekri just sneaking forward, doing what Baltic Moto does, being everywhere your opponent does not want you to be. And, you know, because I didn't do that, I'm really fending off a Scandi push here with quite a points disadvantage. Now, another part of why I didn't do that is, and I think this was a ranked game, but when you play ranked against somebody you know, maybe don't be quite as, well, I decided not to be as rude as I otherwise could be. That's part of why I didn't send stuff around, well, right now anyway, but we'll see how that goes later. Salamander shooting in, and the Pion, these Pions also probably should have used a couple more. They are phenomenal. So for 75 points, you get 10 frontal armor, you get 17 AP power, 60% accuracy. What's not to like there? It's really a high-performing tank with a recon to boot, which is pretty good indeed. So, this, by the way, the smoke there was on top of his anti-air, which is a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't know if it verges well on to exploit, but it allows your anti-air to shoot. They have limited air detection, but they can't really be shot back, so it protects your anti-air from seed, which I don't think is really as intended, but, you know, in case you ever see this, that's part of why. I didn't really know at the time, but I figured, you know, Scandi's going to bring automatics. It turns out that's what it was. So I have some Karten, and Karten will shred Dragoner, which is interesting because Dragoner usually just very, very good lines, right? They have the MG3, they're quite high performing for 10-point lines, and Karten just don't care because they have that elite RPD, so it's better than the normal one. And the swimming KP is not amazing, but I tend to find it does pretty well at close ranges. Now, here's the moment where if I had already contested in Boris, that would have been something else, because that TGB is just there to take a look around. If he had died and I had defended the town, it's quite possible I would now have all of Feder, a foothold in Boris, and that makes this current situation a bit less scary, because right now what's going to happen is if Blue can counter-cap me and Dimitri, that's a +1, and that's a plus, well, it's a +2, it's a +1 if I cap Feder. But yeah, like, how do you come back from that if you don't have Boris as well, right? So basically by not opening into Boris, I've constrained my own options, and the entirety of my options now are fight the whole match, pushing my opponent out of here, and hoping that he doesn't get a toehold for long enough. We're up 6 points to 0, that will help. And I need to get a cap over there as quickly as possible, so I got the MI-17, I'm walking over a little bit, and just to make sure that I'm not really seen. Now, losing the Ito was a bad thing I didn't realize when I got spotted, and that's something where I started backing him up right as that BKAN opened up. And really, when you're playing against Scandi, I think anyway, it's all about surviving the BKAN, particularly with Baltic Moto, where I have Renoko Yekiri 90, I have Karten Yekiri. I need to be moving these guys constantly. I've already lost one group of Karten to the BKAN, I've lost an Ito 9 to the BKAN. It's paid for itself already. And that's what, 2 volleys? So not a lot. Not a lot indeed. So I figure, okay, we'll thread through here a little bit. We'll see if I can get the Pion a bit more of a forward position, get some recon forward, but wary of those false Jägeri because they can kill a lot with Carl Gustav M2. 18 AP isn't amazing, but I don't know, maybe I should have stayed here for another shot. I thought I would be able to get the kill. I thought I got the kill. As it turns out, I did actually, but I wasn't entirely certain of it. There's the Dimitri countercap. My +1 is now a -1, so +1 for blue. And we have to go in and clear that out. And I still don't have a ton of reinforcements in here, right? So I bought some Telecar 84s. I lost one to counter battery fire because, you know, who moves their mortars all the time? I have a Rock 91. It's a lot of backline buys, which maybe wasn't the wisest thing. So, you know, live and learn. But Kartens, yeah, not doing amazing, but they will fight off Falsgrim Jägeri at least 1v1, maybe not, you know, 2v1 here. But the mortars are there for that, and we do get some nice damage in, some nice stuns, allowing the Karten Jägeri to go away. By the way, Livgarden 85, I'm quite happy to see those guys here. They're 25 points, and they fight not that much better than the 10-point lines. I mean, yeah, they're shock, so they'll fight about like Stormer for 5 points more. So, yeah, I'm happy to grind against those for a while, as long as I can keep my Renako alive, and mixed bag there so far. We'll have to see how that goes, but here it is. This is what I wanted for the front line, and this is probably the most unfortunate timing I've had in recent memory. So coordination between different branches of what's going on at the front, by the way, this was very nice. Picking up infantry whole unit kills in the Lift Garden was very nice, but coordinating your strikes is critically important. And when you're using something, when you're like me, you don't always use artillery like this, and the Rak 91, by the way, is an Uragan, so it's the Soviet Uragan just copy-pasted with a different name. You can sometimes mess that up. So my Raniko are going before the Uragan starts firing, and watch this. Bam. Gone. I mean, just Raniko are 35 points each. That was 70 points of infantry gone quicker than I can snap my fingers. And if I had just waited a little bit, had the Rak 91 shoot in, and gotten some smoke cover, everything here would have died to Raniko Yekiri 90. But, you know, that's the price of bad coordination, right? So, well, at the very least, we did decap here. This was a bit of a desperation move, but at least it'll maybe go up, clear some things out. Musties, don't underestimate them, particularly with side shots. They do have really good armor-piercing heat, so 16 AP power. Can one-shot, I believe, up to... is it 2 frontal armor? Yeah, I think it's 2. I know the formula, it just doesn't really come to mind at the moment. We'll see. So, seed planes going in. I was looking for the automatics, hoping to get lucky here, but it looks like they're well microed, and that means I need to get out. Yep, turned on. And 2 strength, 3 strength panicked. It's kind of a shame that the Uragan didn't kill a single one of them. But, I don't know, at least they're damaged. I was hoping just to make them a little bit scared, see if I could get them to move back a little, and, you know, pick up some cheeky kills if I can, just sort of zone out a little bit if not. And, yeah, no, automatic versus XA180s, I know who's going to win that fight. By the way, one of the changes to this deck was actually recommended to me by someone on the Bootcamp Discord, Lord Pie, who is, or not Lord Pie, Balanced, who is a very, very good player. I think we had him on for some unit comparisons a while back, and he basically said Karten Jägeri are not amazing. Now, the reason I like them is because for 25 points instead of 35, you basically get a unit that fights infantry like the Raniko Jägeri, or at least very similarly to them. And the issue is, for 10 points more, you get the Apalas instead of the M72A4 Law. Now, M72A4 isn't bad, 20 rounds per minute, 16 AP power, again, one-shotting 2 armor, dealing significant damage to other things, with like 3 to 8. But the logic is, every single time that the Ranico get the kill where the Carton wouldn't, pays for itself over and over and over again. And you can kind of think about that as, you know, if I can kill an automatic with the Ranico that I wouldn't be able to kill with a Carton, or not that, maybe like a T-72M1 Wilk, right, 90 point tank, and the Ranico get the kill, the Carton actually get killed. So that's a big point swing. It's 90 points kill on the tank, so I could pay for that gap between the Carton and the Ranico 9 times. And it's also not losing the 25 or 50 points from the single or double Carton on the board, because you keep the Ranico alive. So there's a lot of math that goes on behind the scenes there for which one you want to take. And I've basically been swayed recently. Carton, for certain maps, for team games, maybe. But in general, and in ranked, perhaps not. So, we'll have to see if it works, and if it does, I'll be playing a little bit more Baltic Moto on ranked as well, so you guys will see that sooner rather than later, if that's the case. In the meantime, I figured, you know what, let's go and put a little bit of pressure on Boris. I am ticking +1 in Feder right now, and, you know, I'm more or less content with that, right? Because it looks like he can see me pretty well. Those CC didn't even make it to this section of woods before they got fired upon by the BKAN, and he's clearly being responsive with that. It's not exactly something that I want to mess with too much, but even if he caps Boris later on, this is a winning board for me right now. 148 and counting to 48. I have a 100-point lead, and we only have 23 minutes left, so it's not a ton, and it looks like he's coming in for Dimitri again, so that's fine with me. If he wants to let me ticket +1 for a while, great. If he caps there and it's 0-0, which happens right now, then okay, that's alright. In order to make up that point gap, he has to either push me out of Feder or push me out of Dimitri, and both of those things I'm reasonably confident that I can hold. So this is, by the way, another moment where the Carton are not as good a pick as something like Raskas or Ranico, because Raskas would be able to shoot farther in against the STRVs, and Ranico would have the punch they'd need to kill them. Instead, I lose a couple of musties, and you know, we're getting the spike up, we're getting some other things here. I probably needed to resupply earlier and just make sure I had a lot of fire going down on that main road. But then I noticed this happening. Yeah. He BKAN'd my fob. So it turns out there was a helicopter, a Fennec, that came around this way. It got killed very quickly by the Ito 86s. But there goes the fob. Without the fob, the Rock 91 is very much not an impactful tool. I'm going to have to resupply it with resupplied jeeps. It kind of adds insult to injury because I had already paid for supplies with the fob and now I don't even get to use them. But we get a little bit of nice revenge here. I'm just going to flip to neutral. Dragoner, oh no. This one was okay. It's the next one I think that's really good. But yeah, I was a little bit on tilt from this and decided, okay, let's take some revenge. I have Iroquois over on this side. I was just going to sort of have them as forward anti-air, but now we're going to go on a walk and we'll see how far we can get. This is another moment where the Carton Yakri, I think are the better choice than the Ranico Yakri, but only because they're dying, and if I played that well, they wouldn't have been in that situation anyway, so it's a lose less hard strategy, which is worth something, but is one of those things where you should be trying to avoid that anyway. So, Pion, probably should have bought another one here as well, and I think if you're holding this zone, getting control of at least this right-hand side is really critical, because look, STRV at 103D right here, if my spike was in position and resupplied, that's 2 missiles on the way, not just 1, and this could have turned out a lot different, right? So we had the STRV weapons jammed. Yeah, it would have been nice to get a kill there, 90-point kill, and just getting rid of a lot of firepower for blue. But unfortunately it wasn't available, and then I try and run away from these Falskrim Jägeri, but second shot from Carl Gustav, there it is. Yeah. And this is actually when I first got kind of scared for how this was going to go, right? Because before this I figured I'm not trading all that horribly. I think it's kind of going all right. I've cleared him out of here once already. We can do it again if we try. And that moment where I lost the Pion, where I lost, pardon the Discord pings in the back, I usually try and silence that. I'm not sure why it's loud at the moment, but I probably just missed that. That moment right there was a little scary, because double STRV 103D, what do I do against that in the open, right? Particularly if he has good scouting, which he does. We know there's recon infantry up and forward. And I don't know, I just kind of had this idea of, alright, well, we'll just go up, we'll hurt him, we'll come back, then we'll go up, we'll hurt him again, we'll come back. And that sort of ping-pong back and forth will hopefully dodge the BKAN as much as possible, with my Cartons already getting out here just fine. And yeah, I mean, what I said earlier, for when you're playing against people you know, maybe don't use all of your tricks. I think it was definitely a bit of a one-sided thing, because scouting with empty resupply trucks is also, it works. It's up there on the rudeness scale for me, so, you know, it wasn't, I needed to remember, I'm not blaming my opponent here. I needed to remember what I was playing. I was playing ranked, I wasn't playing a friendly. So I needed to treat it like ranked and not a friendly, and we'll see that in action pretty soon. But Dragoner versus Yekiri, yeah, I mean, he has the numbers, my Yekiri are going to be toasted, and then the reason those weren't microed at all is because I saw this coming in. Triple IKV 105, and as much as I was ragging on this unit, it does have really nice accuracy, really nice AP power for pretty cheap. The issue with the 3 frontal armors already getting penned by double KT right here at Fire Computer Reset. There's 1 kill, 2 kills, 70 points off the KTs, and that'll even make up for a little bit of bad positioning where my Ranico should not be this far forward. Well, okay, we already got a lot of points in. This is already very costly. If I can hold here, then so much the better. Unfortunately, Dimitri has been counter-capped again. Now there is a +2 because Boris is capped, and that's something I didn't think about earlier. Yeah, with Feder and Boris each capped, as long as we each hold our 2-pointer, it's status quo, but now that +2 is not 15 points a minute, it's 30 points a minute. I can't survive that all that long. I've actually already lost my 100-point lead. It's down to a little under that, and this is pretty scary, to be honest. I mean, there's still double automatic back there, double 103D right here. I really wish that I could kill both of those. Seed plane coming in again, but unescorted? Well, seed checks tend not to work against better players. Really, the only way to do it is to send in a bomber, strike plane of some sort, and then seed behind, and you make your opponent do that mental math of, okay, well, I really don't want that bomber to get out, so I'm willing to sacrifice my anti-air, and that is a decision that can lead to attrition over time. I mean, on both sides of the board, right? So here we have Carton, and, you know, this is why I like them. They can deal with 5-point boxes, they can deal with Live Garden and things like that decently well, and we have a second Pion with a Musty. This is the sort of engagement that I needed to have earlier, and hopefully skip the one in the middle. I mean, yeah, well. Meanwhile, on this side, my Ranico Yekiri are holding just enough to delay. I still have Edekois, I still have a Spike team, but there's Dragoner in the town, and losing that section of Feder would basically lose me the game, because even though I've pushed him out again in Dimitri, if he gets a +1, 16 minutes left, I mean, it's more than enough time, right? So reinforcements that I desperately wanted to go into Dimitri are headed into Fedor instead, and my Ranico are history. So IKV is coming in again, or LKVs rather, CV9030N's coming in, RBS 56, all this stuff here, and yeah, I mean, I died really quick. Those Edekois do yeoman's work when they're in position. So right there, set down the Ranico Yekiri, we have the Rak 91 shooting in again. Everything here should be stunned, and I'm just a little bit off of coordination. Once again, the Ranico should have been a little closer when I got that stun to help them get in safely. I mean, NY24W does good work, but I mean, it's an attack helicopter. It's very nice. Very nice. I like these guys quite a lot. Yeah. So, Raskins and Korima, Musties, more Ranico moving forward, and the Musties are just going to move right up to here, the Raskins and Korima right up to there, and hopefully shoot in at the backline support. But this was pretty scary. That's an automatic shooting, and would just get out of his line of sight quickly enough to keep these guys alive. But if he was back a little farther, probably would have been able to shoot at me still, and that would be a pretty scary thing. So, yeah, oof. Half-dead elite infantry are not how you want to start an engagement, but it looks like we have reclaimed this. Blue is moving back. Seed plane looking for that automatic that I knew was there again. We get 1 missile off, 2 missiles off, and they both miss. That was heartbreaking. So that was actually Radar AA trick, where he turned it off, moved backward, and because of that my missiles were fired and didn't track the target. So nice micro there for my opponent. It's definitely a valid thing to do, and quite effective at that. So I can hardly blame him there. Yeah, this is the engagement that the Carton Yekiri love. 25 points versus 30, and the Carton Yekiri will melt these guys. It's insane. They don't even need to be standing still. They can run. And the Falscom Jaeger 90 can't do anything about it. It's just, look at that, 19 to 0 in not very much time at all. In the meantime, Edekois are going up here. I thought about it. I figured I could go back towards the reinforcement route, or I could cut into center, see what I could find, maybe counter snipe his fob, although I didn't really have tools for it. Or look for a CV, something like that. And we have Feder secure with a little bit of overbuys, so I didn't need 2 double stacks of Carton, I didn't need all these musties. I figured this was going to be a huge main thrust, and I kind of wish I'd spent 100 of those points over in Dimitri instead. So, a little bit of panic, a little bit of overbuy, and the Kartniekri that I have, Raskas and Kurima that I have, should be able to do very well. These guys zone infantry better than you'd believe, because yeah, they have high, well, relatively high suppression, relatively high stun. This was a mistake. Oof. Ouch. But look at that. I mean, the Stormer, between the 1, 2, 3 musties firing, because that's, I mean, so it's just a musty gun, on the Raskas and Kurima. Yeah, quite effective. We get a Wildcat back here, and that does let my opponent know that I'm back here now, so I'm trying to move out, expecting some sort of response to come in to where I was last sighted, and I think that he does bring something in there, but not immediately. So actually the Iroquois Yekri retreat back here, and we do intercept a little bit more there in just a second. In the meantime, CV9030 ends, very upset. My Renoko Yekri able to get back, will bring in some resupply trucks and heal them up as well, because Renoko Yekri make Baltic Moto work. And then this is good. I mean, people don't think about it all the time, but there's a lot of gaps in between these trees, and these Dragoner advancing through what most people think of as, oh, this is just thick cover. Well, no, it's not actually. They're getting shot out in the open. They don't have any sort of damage mitigation here. My Kartniekri do. And, well, until the backline support gets involved, that is going to go decently well for the Cartons. Now, with more things firing in, yeah, maybe not quite so much. And that's going to be another Blue 4 Tide headed that way. I mean, we pick up some Stormer. This is pretty nice. Yeah. I think Iroquois Yekri, if they had something other than the short-range Yatomatic, would be very, very good. Like, they're already incredibly good, but I think they'd be full-on busted at that point. If they had a battle rifle, can you imagine? Goodness gracious. So, double STRV, 103D, moving forward again. My Pion is spotted by something in here still, and with the smoke there, it has to be relatively close by. Probably some more recon infantry farther, well, about where my mouse is right now, is my guess. And, I don't know, I think... So, we actually panicked him into moving out of center. Turns out his CV was right here, and if I had cut in that way, we probably could have killed it. Instead, I went farther back because, I don't know, I didn't think it would be right there. I thought it would be somewhere else. Now, hey, I'm going to send my Iroquois when I get back over there right into that high ground, because worst case, I can spot everything in center. Best case, we pick up a command vehicle, something like that. And it's just, I mean, I thought he was playing mech for a while here. It turns out no, so the veterancy on the Stormer's too low. If it was mechanized, they'd be higher, even down-vetted. But, yeah, I thought that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. Just the numbers in this game. I've had a couple of just absolute grind fests lately. It's kind of depressing, yet impressive at the same time. I don't do that so well, so I need to work on my mechanized play and my moto play, really. I mean, Alcohol's nice, but we can always aim higher, right? So, Iroquois Yekri split now, and still dealing with a couple of things. We do spot the BKAN 1C, which I am going to mark. And I thought about sending a bomber around, like, you know, take a bomber, come over this way, come over that way, drop. But I figured it would be interesting, it would be difficult to keep the Iroquois alive long enough to keep that guy spotted, and the second he's not spotted, he's going to move. And then my bomber's a whiff, potentially running into some base defense. I did not want to send a bomber over some automatics in the base if I didn't have to. And that was sort of the mental calculus going in there. That's actually the CV. And yep, strip BV90, so we spot him. And I figured, okay, well, he probably knows I can see him right now. He's probably going to move again. I don't think he actually does. It just was another one of those where, you know what, I did my cheese here. I got Iroquois Yekri around the side. I don't need to send a bomber around to try and hit that, even though, yeah, I mean, we see his spot, right? I also don't think I had cluster bombers in this deck, actually. Yeah, I'd probably guess roughly where that is with enough accuracy for a bomber. But in the meantime, Dimitri's recapped, and I didn't kill that CV a single time until, I think this is actually the good one. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a lot of stun. Man, I like watching that thing fire. Very satisfying. But I don't know if you guys saw it right there for a second. There was triple CV9030N, and we're about to see the difference between Renoko Yekri and Kartniekri, because keep in mind, Renoko Yekri can deal with armor, Kartniekri cannot, and I mean, those IFVs are insanely good, So they're actually going to get line of sight here in just a second. 1, 2, 3 right there. And my first shot's in against a 5-point box. Second shot against the CV9030N is a miss. Down to 6, we get a kill. Kartniekri would not have gotten that kill. And we might even get a second one. Oof, I lost the Avia. Yeah, rough. I mean, I kind of wanted to scare him away from it at this point, because you gotta keep in mind, with 9 minutes left, and what is that? About 72, 73-ish. Man, I can't do math today. Yeah, 73 points difference. That +2 is way more than he needs. He needs about 3 minutes of that and ties the game. About 4 minutes of it to win. So I have to hold off at least half the time remaining before I lose that section in Dimitri. And I mean, there's still other stuff going in. There's false Grimagori moving up here. This was the highest stress part of the entire fight. So I brought some Commandosi up. I have Commandosi in, where are they? The MI-17s. Yeah. I tend to split up the MI-17s because, you know, if you keep them both together, they're just going to die to the same thing. Actually, they might have already. But I like Commandosi. I think they're a little bit of an uncommon pick in Baltic Moto just because, I mean, with Ranico, do you really need them? But, you know, I figured 875 meter range at Elite is pretty good, even if they don't have really huge armor-piercing values. And for 15 strength with the RPK, these guys are sort of like the Red 4 version of Core Mariner. And I needed something tough because Dimitri is still countercapped, and we do finally get the kill there. So, dead CV, first time we've killed it the entire game, and our 2-pointer for right now, anyway, is safe. And this is what Commandosi will do. They'll come in there, they'll get that kill, and they'll melt the Dragoner besides. This was actually a problem on my part. I was right-clicking, I wasn't attack moving. And because of that, I can't use my secondary, so these CV9030Ns do quite a lot. 10 strength infantry, one of them would be dead by now. Instead, I still have both units of Commandosi, and at close ranges, their secondary is going to hit more times than not, right? So 875 meter range, you still do get that range scaling in, and it's quite nice. So, you know, 15 strength, we're paying for it, but it's what allows me to get that second and third CV9030N right there. And this finally was the moment where I was sitting there going, okay, I need to use more Pions, because yeah, we do finally get the automatic kill. With 3 of them here, we could kill pretty much any recon that was around this side without too much trouble. And this is the sort of push I needed earlier, where we're actually preventing him from getting his backline stuff out. The issue is, whereas before I had that ITO 90 back here, I don't have any anti-air nearly close enough. Edokoi is trying to move up to intercept, but that Fennec 2 is very deadly and is going to get on target. So I lose a Pion, maybe even lose a second one, we'll see. I really did want that Wildcat dead, it was what was killing me so much earlier, and I mean, always get rid of your opponent's recon when you can, right? So, take down another CV9030N, but that is going to cost me the tank. Not a worthwhile trade, not even a little bit. Of course, getting the Fennec 2 sort of balances that out, but even then, I did not like losing both the Pions there. Yeah, not at all. So, looking at the field as it is right now, with 6 minutes left, there's still that 73-point gap, and I have a couple of these. I mean, I don't advise doing this. I'm still trying to find a role for these guys, and it's a little bit harder to do than you might think. But I figure, you know what? Let's get some push going. So I have Edokois, I have these guys. They at least hit like trucks. So 70% accuracy, 25 AP power, and I figured if that Wildcat is still alive, these guys can deal with it. So we'll push the Edokois up. We'll count on these vehicles to keep them alive here against any sort of armor that might come in, and then we just get ready to sweep this section again. So my opponent, he's gonna put something else in there, and we're gonna have to get rid of it, and get rid of it very, very quickly indeed. So that was a Wildcat kill, so far doing exactly what I wanted, and triple stack of Falscom Jaeger 90, holy cow, right? Like that's a lot of points, and it's a lot of killing power, but this is a sort of engagement where I think Baltic Moto really shines, so we'll see Stormer moving forward, and actually let's take a look here. Yeah, I was kind of impressed with the Pion. Decent off-road speed, enough to stay away from the Falscom Jaeger 90, which is not exactly easy. Yeah, we get a little bit lucky there with the secondary not hitting, but they have to maintain line of sight. The Falscom Jaeger 90 is guided, not fire and forget. And then we get around the side, quadruple KT, Jaegeri on this side as well, and that's going to be a lot of stuns, a lot of damage coming in there, and Ranico just to seal the deal. So, I mean, 1, 2, 3, set him up, knock him down, 90 points of infantry, gone. Wow, just so quick, it's insane. When Baltic Moto works, it really, really works. It's kind of crazy. So, getting a little bit overzealous with the KTs, this is another thing. I should have probably sent these guys around more instead of down the pipe. So down the pipe, these guys struggle, because with only 1 frontal armor, most everything can kill them pretty easily. Right? They take full damage value from kinetic, they take full damage value from heat. It is not really a survivable unit, but it does kill quickly, so you use it to exploit, you use it to get around the side and damn, I love the music that I got going right now. Oh man. Now I remember why this this hobby relaxes me as much as it does. It's just getting to talk, getting to view one of these good games, to think about what I did could have done differently, how the game went, win or lose, and just to sort of dial down a little bit before bed. So yeah, well, that's going to be pretty close to the game as my opponent does surrender there with 3 minutes left and pretty close on kills. He was actually a little bit ahead on value there, particularly when I lost the two 60-point vehicles on the right-hand side at the end. That was a close game. I think it could have gone either way, and I got the fortunate end of that coin toss there, so well played to my opponent. Very tough match indeed. And if you guys like this sort of thing, like my content and all that, well, don't hesitate to give it a like, share, subscribe, all that YouTuber nonsense, and we'll see you again real soon. And, ooh, before I forget, I'm trying out the new intro sequence. If you guys like it, I'll have it stick around. If you don't, I can always change it, I can always get rid of it, something like that. I think it's nice. And we'll see if it is going to be a long-term thing or not. I've wanted one for a little while. I finally got around to making it, and yeah, let me know what you think.